Imagine standing beneath a vast, starlit desert sky, the air warm and still, in a land cradled between two mighty rivers. This is ancient Mesopotamia, the birthplace of humanity's first great civilization, the Sumerians. Over 5,000 years ago, these people etched their stories onto clay tablets, not with fleeting words, but with wedge-shaped marks that have endured millennia. Among these stories, one mystery stands out, captivating historians, archaeologists, and dreamers alike. The tale of the Anunnaki, beings described as those who came down from the heavens. Were they gods, as the Sumerians believed? Were they symbolic figures woven into myth to explain the unexplainable? Or could they be something far stranger, perhaps even visitors from beyond our world, sharing knowledge that propelled humanity forward? Welcome to Mystery History for Sleep, where we dive deep into the shadows of the past, chasing truths that might just reshape how you see human history. Let's start with those clay tablets, fragile yet enduring relics of a civilization that thrived between 4,500 and 1,900 BC in what we now call Iraq. These tablets aren't mere artifacts, they're windows into a world that feels almost too advanced for its time. The Sumerians didn't just survive in the harsh deserts of Mesopotamia, they transformed it. They built sprawling cities like Ur and Uruk, bustling with markets, temples, and vibrant communities. They engineered irrigation systems that turned barren plains into fertile fields, feeding thousands. They mapped the stars with precision that baffles modern astronomers, and they created the first known writing system, called cuneiform, to record everything from trade deals to cosmic myths. But it's the stories they told, stories of the Anunnaki, that pull us into a mystery that refuses to fade. The word Anunnaki translates to those who came from above, or sometimes those of royal blood. In Sumerian texts, these beings are depicted as powerful figures who descended from the heavens, wielding extraordinary knowledge and shaping the course of human civilization. According to the tablets, the Anunnaki didn't just watch from afar, they interacted with humanity, teaching skills like astronomy, agriculture, and governance. They were credited with guiding the Sumerians to achievements that seem almost otherworldly for a people living thousands of years before telescopes or computers. Imagine a civilization that could track the movements of planets, devise a mathematical system based on the number 60, a system we still use to measure time and angles and construct towering structures called ziggurats that rose like beacons over their cities. How did they do it? Was it sheer human ingenuity, or did they have help from something or someone beyond their world? Now, let's be clear. We're not chasing wild conspiracy theories here. This isn't about jumping to conclusions or spinning tales of flying saucers landing in ancient Mesopotamia. Instead, we're exploring real archaeological evidence, thousands of clay tablets unearthed from the sands, painstakingly translated by scholars over decades. These tablets don't just tell stories of gods, they describe beings with human-like traits, emotions, and agendas, who seem to have a direct hand in humanity's leap from scattered tribes to organized societies. One particular artifact, known as Cylinder Seal VE 243, adds fuel to the mystery. This small, intricately carved stone appears to depict a solar system, complete with a central star and orbiting bodies, crafted at a time when no one should have known what a solar system looked like. Scholars debate whether it's a literal depiction of planets or a symbolic representation, but its existence raises a question that lingers. Could the Sumerians have known more about the cosmos than we've given them credit for? The Anunnaki appear repeatedly in Sumerian texts, not as distant deities but as active participants in human affairs. In myths like the Epic of Atrahasis, they're portrayed as decision-makers who shaped humanity's fate, sometimes with compassion, sometimes with wrath. One story tells of a great flood, orchestrated by the Anunnaki to reset the world, only for one of their own to defy the plan and save a human hero. Does that sound familiar? It should. It echoes flood myths found across cultures, from the biblical Noah to ancient tales in India and Mesoamerica. These parallels make you wonder, are these stories mere coincidence? Or do they preserve a shared memory of something real something monumental that shaped our collective past. As we stand on the edge of this mystery, it's tempting to dismiss the Anunnaki as mythological creations, poetic ways to explain the stars, the seasons, or the rise of civilization. Most historians lean this way, viewing them as symbolic figures meant to inspire awe or explain natural phenomena. But the Sumerians' accounts are strikingly detailed. They don't just describe gods, they credit the Anunnaki with teaching specific skills: how to irrigate fields, how to measure the stars, how to build cities. Archaeological evidence backs this up. The Sumerians did indeed master these skills, far earlier than other cultures. Their irrigation canals transformed deserts into farmland. Their star maps tracked planetary movements with uncanny accuracy. Their mathematical system was so sophisticated, it underpinned calculations we still rely on today. Could these achievements really come from human observation alone, or is there a chance the Sumerians were guided by something extraordinary? This brings us to a controversial figure, Zecharia Sitchin, a writer who in the 20th century proposed a radical idea. Sitchin suggested the Anunnaki weren't gods or metaphors, but extraterrestrial visitors from a distant planet he called Nibiru. According to his translations of Sumerian texts, these beings came to Earth, shared advanced knowledge, and even influenced human development. Now, before you picture spaceships landing in the desert, know that Sitchin's ideas are heavily disputed. Mainstream scholars, experts in Sumerian language and culture, argue that his translations are flawed, often bending the texts to fit his narrative. They point out that there's no solid evidence for a planet called Nibiru or for alien visitors in ancient Mesopotamia. Yet, Sitchin's theories struck a chord with millions, not because they're proven, but because they tap into a deeper question. Why does human history feel like it's hiding something? Let's pause and consider the stakes. If the Anunnaki were just myths, why do the Sumerian tablets describe them with such specificity, crediting them with knowledge that aligns so closely with archaeological findings? If they were symbolic, why do their stories echo across cultures, hinting at a shared human experience? And if there's even a sliver of truth to the idea that they represent something real, whether an advanced human culture, a lost civilization, or something we can't yet fathom, what does that mean for our understanding of the past? The Sumerians weren't just storytellers, they were meticulous record keepers. Their tablets document everything from grain inventories to legal codes. So why would they invent fantastical tales about beings from the heavens, unless those tales held some kernel of truth? As we dive deeper into this mystery, we'll explore the Sumerians' world in greater detail, their cities, their innovations, and the tantalizing clues they left behind. We'll uncover how their astronomical knowledge rivaled modern science, how their mathematics shaped our world, and how their stories of the Anunnaki might hold secrets we're only beginning to unravel. This isn't just a journey through history, it's a quest to question what we think we know. Were the Anunnaki divine beings, human innovators misremembered as gods, or something stranger still? The answers may lie buried in the sands of Mesopotamia, waiting for us to find them. So, settle in, because the story of the Sumerians and their mysterious Anunnaki is about to take us to places you never imagined. If you're captivated by these ancient enigmas and want to join us on this journey through the shadows of history, hit that subscribe button for Mystery History for Sleep and turn on notifications. Let's keep unraveling the past together, one mystery at a time. The whispers of the Anunnaki, those enigmatic beings from Sumerian lore, linger in the air as we step into the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, a land where humanity's first great civilization rose against all odds. Between 4,500 and 1,900 BC, the Sumerians didn't just survive in a sun-baked desert between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, they redefined what it meant to be human. Their cities buzzed with life, their innovations reshaped the world, and their knowledge seemed to touch the stars. This wasn't a primitive society stumbling through the dawn of history, it was a beacon of progress, crafting tools, systems, and ideas that feel impossibly advanced for their time. As we explore their achievements, From the birth of writing to the mastery of urban life, we're left with a question that echoes through the ages. How did the Sumerians achieve such feats in an era without modern tools? Was it their own brilliance? Or could there be a hidden hand, perhaps the Anunnaki guiding their path? Imagine a landscape where the horizon shimmers with heat, where rivers carve life through an arid expanse. The Sumerians saw potential where others saw hardship. They harnessed the unpredictable Tigris and Euphrates, building networks of canals that tamed floodwaters and nourished fields of barley, wheat, and dates. These weren't crude channels but feats of engineering, with levees and gates that controlled water flow with precision. Picture a farmer standing at the edge of a canal, watching water spill across once barren land, transforming it into a patchwork of green. This ingenuity fed cities that grew into thriving hubs, like Uruk, which by 3000 BC was a metropolis of tens of thousands, its streets alive with traders, scribes, and priests. Uruk's walls, stretching over 5 miles, encircled a city of mud-brick homes, bustling markets, and sacred precincts, a testament to a society that planned and prospered on a scale unseen before. At the center of these cities stood ziggurats, towering structures that seemed to reach for the heavens. These stepped pyramids, built from millions of clay bricks, weren't just temples but symbols of Sumerian ambition. The ziggurat at its ruins still standing today, rose in terraces, each level meticulously aligned, possibly to mirror the cosmos. Imagine climbing its steps under a twilight sky, the city sprawling below, its colors fading into the dusk. These structures demanded not just labor, but a deep understanding of mathematics and architecture. The Sumerians calculated angles and load-bearing capacities, ensuring their ziggurats endured for millennia. Unlike the pyramids of Egypt, built later, ziggurats were community hubs, blending worship, governance, and even astronomy. Their design suggests a people who saw their world as a reflection of a greater cosmic order. But how did they master such complex construction so early? The Sumerians' greatest gift to humanity was writing, a breakthrough that birthed history itself. Around 3200 BC, they created cuneiform, pressing wedge-shaped marks into clay with reed styluses. This wasn't a rudimentary script, but a versatile system that evolved from simple tallies to a language capable of capturing laws, poetry, and science. Picture a scribe in a dimly lit room, his fingers stained with clay, recording a contract or a hymn with equal care. Cuneiform tablets, thousands of which survive, reveal a society obsessed with documentation. They logged everything: grain harvests, temple offerings, even diplomatic agreements between city-states. This wasn't just record-keeping, it was a revolution that allowed ideas to be preserved and shared across generations. The sudden emergence of such a system, with no clear predecessor, raises questions. Did the Sumerians invent it alone? Or were they building on knowledge from an earlier, unknown source? Their intellectual achievements extended to mathematics, where they devised a system so elegant it still shapes our world. The Sumerians used a base 60, or sexagesimal, system, ideal for dividing time, measuring angles, and calculating land. This is why we have 60 seconds in a minute and 360 degrees in a circle echoes of Sumerian logic embedded in our daily lives. Imagine a merchant dividing a field into precise portions, using clay tablets to compute fractions with an ease that rivals modern methods. Their mathematics wasn't just practical, it was visionary, enabling them to design irrigation systems, plan cities, and track celestial events. They even explored early forms of geometry, evident in the symmetrical layouts of their ziggurats and temples. This sophistication, appearing so early, feels like a leap that defies the gradual pace of human progress. Sumerian cities were marvels of organization, blending practicality with grandeur. Take Eridu, believed to be one of the oldest cities, its temples layered atop one another over centuries, each built with reverence for the past. Or consider where excavations in the 1920s uncovered a royal cemetery brimming with treasures: golden daggers, lapis lazuli beads, and a lyre adorned with a bull's head. its craftsmanship rivaling anything from later empires. Picture a funeral procession winding through Ur's streets, the air heavy with incense, as elites were laid to rest with artifacts that spoke of wealth and artistry. These finds reveal a society that valued beauty as much as function, creating a culture that was both practical and poetic. Their cities had specialized roles artisans, priests, administrators, suggesting a level of social complexity that feels modern in its structure. Education was a cornerstone of this society. The Sumerians established schools, known as idaba, or tablet houses, where young scribes learned cuneiform, mathematics, and literature. Imagine a classroom of students hunched over clay tablets, memorizing signs and reciting epic tales under a teacher's watchful eye. These schools weren't just for the elite. They trained a class of professionals who ran the bureaucracy, ensuring cities functioned smoothly. This emphasis on learning set the Sumerians apart, creating a literate society at a time when most of the world relied on oral traditions. But the question lingers, how did they develop such a structured system so early, when other cultures were still nomadic or barely settled? Their innovations weren't limited to the page or the classroom. The Sumerians pioneered technologies that reshaped daily life. They built some of the earliest wheeled vehicles, crude by today's standards but revolutionary for transporting goods across vast distances. Picture a cart rumbling through Uruk's gates, laden with grain from distant fields, a symbol of a society on the move. They also crafted plows that broke the hard Mesopotamian soil, boosting agricultural yields. Their defensive walls, like those around Uruk, protected against invaders, while their drainage systems mitigated the river's frequent floods. These advancements required not just technical skill, but a collective vision, a society united in its pursuit of progress. Yet, the speed and scale of these developments feel almost too rapid for a single culture to achieve alone. The Sumerians' spiritual life was as vibrant as their cities. They worshipped a pantheon of gods tied to the forces of nature, rivers, winds, the fertile earth. But the Anunnaki, those beings from the heavens, held a special place. Texts describe them not as abstract deities but as active guides, teaching skills that mirrored the Sumerians' real-world achievements. One myth credits them with revealing the secrets of irrigation, a claim supported by the sudden appearance of complex canal systems in the archaeological record. Another speaks of their role in city building, aligning with the rapid rise of urban centers like Uruk. These stories, etched in cuneiform, feel less like myths and more like historical accounts, their specificity hinting at a truth we've yet to fully uncover. Could the Anunnaki represent real figures, innovators, leaders, or outsiders whose influence was so profound it was immortalized as divine? Mesopotamia's role as a cultural crossroads adds another layer to this mystery. Positioned at the nexus of trade routes linking Asia, Africa, and Europe, Sumerian cities were melting pots of ideas. Merchants from distant lands brought not just goods but knowledge, perhaps of farming techniques or star patterns, enriching Sumerian society. This exchange, known as cultural diffusion, could explain some of their advancements, but even this doesn't fully account for the leap from scattered villages to sophisticated cities in a few centuries. Other early cultures, like those in Egypt or the Indus Valley, developed gradually, but the Sumerians' progress feels abrupt, almost as if they were handed a blueprint. Could this blueprint have come from a lost culture, or even from the Anunnaki themselves, as their myths suggest? As we stand amidst the ruins of Sumerian cities, their ziggurats casting long shadows across time, we're left with a puzzle. The Sumerians' achievements writing, mathematics, urban planning seem to defy the constraints of their era. Their myths of the Anunnaki, crediting otherworldly beings with their success, add a layer of intrigue that can't be easily dismissed. Were these stories poetic flourishes, or do they hide a deeper truth? To answer this, we must turn to the Anunnaki themselves, diving into their myths to explore who or what they might have been. Were they gods, metaphors, or memories of something extraordinary? The tablets hold clues, and as we unravel their stories, we'll find ourselves closer to the heart of this ancient enigma. with its towering ziggurats and intricate canals, pulses with a vibrancy that feels almost otherworldly, as if guided by forces beyond mere human ingenuity. At the heart of their civilization lies a mystery that refuses to fade. The Anunnaki, beings etched into clay tablets as those who came down from the heavens. These figures weren't distant deities cloaked in vague mysticism. They were central to Sumerian life, woven into stories that shaped their understanding of the cosmos and their place in it. As we delve into their myths, we find not just tales of divine power, but detailed accounts of beings who taught, judged, and even quarreled like humans. Were the Anunnaki simply gods born from imagination, symbolic representations of natural forces, or could they be distorted echoes of real encounters, perhaps with advanced humans or something stranger still? Let's step into the Sumerian myths to unravel who these beings were and why their stories continue to captivate us. In Sumerian belief, the Anunnaki were a pantheon of powerful entities, each with distinct roles and personalities. At their head was Anu, the god of the heavens, a distant yet supreme figure who presided over the divine assembly. Picture him as a cosmic overseer, watching humanity from a celestial throne, rarely intervening directly but holding ultimate authority. His son, Enlil, was far more hands-on, a god of air and storms whose temperament could shift from benevolent to wrathful. Sumerian texts portray Enlil as a strict enforcer, often clashing with humanity when their actions displeased him. In one striking tale, he unleashed a devastating flood to reset the world, frustrated by humanity's noise and rebellion. Yet, another Anunnaki, Enki, emerges as a counterbalancer god of water, wisdom, and invention, depicted as humanity's protector. Enki's compassion shines in stories where he defies divine decrees to save mortals, teaching them skills to thrive in a harsh world. One of the most compelling myths, the Epic of Atrahasis, captures this dynamic vividly. In this tale, the Anunnaki convene in a cosmic council to decide humanity's fate. Enlil, exasperated by the growing human population, proposes a catastrophic flood to wipe them out. Enki, however, secretly warns a human hero, instructing him to build a boat to survive the deluge. The parallels to other flood myths like Noah's Ark in the Bible, or the great floods of ancient Indian and Mesoamerican traditions are uncanny. These similarities raise a tantalizing question. Do these stories reflect a shared cultural memory, perhaps of a real environmental catastrophe that reshaped early societies? The Sumerians' flood narrative isn't just a story, it's a detailed account, complete with descriptions of the Anunnaki's debates and decisions, suggesting a depth that feels more historical than purely mythical. What makes the Anunnaki so intriguing is their human-like complexity. Unlike the abstract gods of some cultures, these beings argue, feel jealousy, show compassion, and even regret their choices. In the myth of Enki and Ninmah, Enki is portrayed as a creator, shaping humans from clay and experimenting with their forms, almost like a scientist tinkering in a lab. When some creations fail, he adjusts his approach, displaying a curiosity and empathy that feels strikingly relatable. Another story credits Enki with teaching humans irrigation techniques, a skill that transformed Mesopotamia's deserts into fertile fields. Archaeological evidence confirms this. Sumerian canals, with their sophisticated gates and channels, appeared early in their history, enabling agriculture on an unprecedented scale. Could these myths be purely symbolic, or do they preserve memories of real figures, perhaps leaders, innovators, or even outsiders who guided the Sumerians to such advancements? The Anunnaki's role as teachers is a recurring theme. Texts describe them imparting knowledge of astronomy, agriculture, and city building, skills that align remarkably with the Sumerians' real-world achievements. For instance, their astronomical records, etched on clay tablets, show a precise understanding of planetary movements, knowledge we'll explore in depth later. Their city layouts, like Uruk's grid-like streets, suggest advanced urban planning. These myths don't just glorify the Anunnaki, they credit them with specific, practical contributions that mirror archaeological findings. This precision raises a question. Why would the Sumerians attribute their successes to otherworldly beings unless those beings represented something tangible, perhaps encounters with a more advanced group or culture? Let's consider the cultural context. The Sumerians were deeply spiritual, worshipping gods who personified natural forces, rivers, storms, harvests. The Anunnaki fit into this pantheon, but their stories stand out for their specificity and interactivity. Unlike the distant gods of later cultures, the Anunnaki are hands-on, engaging directly with humans. Artistic carvings from Mesopotamia show them alongside mortals, sometimes holding tools or symbols that appear surprisingly advanced. One depiction shows a figure with what looks like a winged disc, a motif some interpret as a technological device rather than a purely symbolic image. While mainstream scholars dismiss such interpretations as speculative, these artifacts fuel debate. Could they reflect real objects or knowledge the Sumerians encountered, later mythologized as divine? The flood myth, in particular, offers a lens into this mystery. The Epic of Atrahasis doesn't just describe a deluge. It details the Anunnaki's motivations, with Enlil's frustration and Enki's defiance painting a vivid picture of divine politics. The story's parallels to other global flood myths suggest a shared human experience, possibly rooted in real events. Geologists have found evidence of massive floods in Mesopotamia around 2900 BC, likely caused by the Tigris and Euphrates overflowing. Could these events have been woven into myths, with the Anunnaki as stand-ins for leaders or advisors who helped survivors rebuild? Or do the stories hint at something more extraordinary, an intervention by a group with knowledge so advanced it seemed divine? This brings us to a provocative possibility. What if the Anunnaki represent memories of real encounters? Imagine early Sumerians meeting travelers from a distant, more advanced culture, perhaps from a region we haven't yet identified archaeologically. To a people without writing or complex tools, such visitors might have seemed godlike, their knowledge of irrigation or astronomy appearing miraculous. Over generations, these encounters could have been transformed into myths of celestial beings. This idea, known as cultural diffusion, suggests that knowledge spreads through trade, migration, or contact. Mesopotamia's position as a trade hub, linking Africa, Asia, and Europe, made it a melting pot of ideas. Could the Anunnaki be a mythologized memory of such exchanges, their heavenly origins a poetic way to describe outsiders from afar? Yet, the specificity of the Anunnaki's teachings, astronomy, mathematics, engineering, pushes us to consider bolder possibilities. Some, like Zecharia Sitchin, have argued that the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial visitors, a theory we'll explore later. While mainstream scholars reject this, citing flawed translations, the idea persists because it resonates with a deeper truth. The Sumerians' advancements feel too sudden, too profound, to be entirely self-derived. Even skeptics admit gaps in our understanding. For example, how did the Sumerians develop cuneiform so early, transitioning from simple pictographs to a complex script in a short time? Why do their texts credit otherworldly beings with knowledge that aligns so closely with their achievements? These questions don't demand alien answers, but they do suggest we're missing pieces of the historical puzzle. The Anunnaki's human-like traits add another layer of intrigue. Their emotions, anger, compassion, rivalry, mirror our own, making them feel less like abstract deities and more like real figures remembered through a mythological lens. In one text, Enki weeps for humanity, defying his fellow Anunnaki to save them. This emotional depth suggests the Sumerians weren't just inventing stories, they were grappling with memories or experiences that felt profoundly real. Could these tales preserve encounters with a group, human or otherwise, whose influence was so significant it was immortalized as divine? As we ponder the Anunnaki's identity, we must also consider their legacy. Their stories didn't end with the Sumerians but echoed through later civilizations, like the Babylonians and Assyrians, who adopted and adapted these myths. The flood narrative, for instance, reappears in the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest known literary works, showing the enduring power of these tales. But to unravel their true meaning, we need to look beyond mythology to the Sumerians' most astonishing achievement, their mastery of the stars. Their astronomical knowledge, recorded with precision that rivals modern science, raises questions that take us even deeper into this mystery. How did a people without telescopes track planets and predict cosmic events? Did they learn from the heavens themselves, or were they guided by something or someone closer to the stars? Let's turn our gaze skyward to explore the Sumerians' celestial legacy and what it reveals about the Anunnaki's role. The Sumerians' myths of the Anunnaki paint a vivid picture of beings who descended from the heavens, their stories intertwined with humanity's earliest strides towards civilization. But if their tales hint at extraordinary guidance, nowhere is this more striking than in the Sumerians' mastery of the stars. Over 5,000 years ago, in a world without telescopes or computers, the Sumerians gazed into the night sky and saw not just twinkling lights but a cosmic order they documented with astonishing precision. Their clay tablets record the movements of planets, the patterns of constellations, and even predictions of celestial events that align eerily with modern science. This wasn't casual stargazing. It was a systematic pursuit of knowledge that feels almost too advanced for its time. How did a people armed only with their eyes and rudimentary tools unlock the secrets of the cosmos? Were they simply patient observers? Or could their myths of the Anunnaki beings who taught them to read the heavens hold a clue to something more profound? Picture a Sumerian astronomer standing atop a ziggurat, the desert air cool and clear, the sky a canvas of stars stretching endlessly above. Without lenses or instruments, they tracked the paths of celestial bodies with a precision that modern astronomers still marvel at. Their tablets identify Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn as distinct from the fixed stars, recognizing them as planets with unique orbits. This alone is remarkable. Most ancient cultures saw these as mere wandering stars, but the Sumerians understood their planetary nature long before others. Take Venus, for example. They realized it appeared as both a morning star and an evening star, a dual identity that baffled other societies for centuries. One of their most famous artifacts, the Venus tablet of Amisaduqa, dating to around 1600 BC but rooted in earlier Sumerian traditions, records Venus's cycles with such accuracy that it rivals early modern calculations. How did they achieve this without advanced technology? The Sumerian star maps, etched into clay, are equally astounding. They charted constellations that match those we recognize today, like Scorpio and Taurus, suggesting a deep understanding of stellar patterns. These weren't random sketches but systematic records, tracking the slow dance of stars across seasons and years. Some tablets even describe lunar eclipses and planetary alignments, predicting events with a precision that implies not just observation, but mathematical rigor. Imagine a scribe, stylus in hand, calculating the arc of a planet's path under the flicker of an oil lamp. Their ability to forecast celestial events without so much as a sextant raises a question that lingers. Was this the result of generations of patient watching, or did they have access to knowledge beyond what their tools could provide? This brings us to their mathematical prowess, which underpinned their astronomical achievements. The Sumerians used a base 60 system, or sexagesimal, that allowed them to handle complex calculations with ease. This system wasn't just practical for trade or land measurement, it was ideal for astronomy, enabling them to divide circles into 360 degrees and track time in increments we still use today: 60 seconds, 60 minutes. Their tablets contain detailed computations, from the angles of planetary orbits to the timing of equinoxes, showing a grasp of mathematics that feels almost anachronistic. Picture a Sumerian priest astronomer dividing the night sky into precise segments, using clay tablets to record angles and cycles. This wasn't guesswork, it was science, centuries before the term existed. But how did they develop such a system so early, when other cultures were still grappling with basic arithmetic? One artifact deepens this mystery: the cylinder seal VE 243, a small stone carving that some claim depicts the solar system. Found among Sumerian ruins, it shows a central star, possibly the sun, surrounded by smaller bodies that resemble planets. The arrangement is strikingly similar to our modern understanding of the solar system, complete with relative sizes and positions. Mainstream scholars argue it's symbolic, perhaps representing gods or cosmic principles, not a literal map of the heavens, yet its detail is hard to dismiss. Could the Sumerians, without telescopes, have known about planets invisible to the naked eye, like Uranus or Neptune? Some speculate they might have inferred their existence through mathematical models or inherited knowledge, but others point to the Anunnaki, whose myths credit them with teaching astronomy. Could this seal be a clue to a deeper truth, or is it merely a coincidence magnified by our modern lens? The practical applications of Sumerian astronomy were as impressive as their records. They created calendars based on lunar phases and solar cycles, aligning agricultural seasons with cosmic rhythms. Imagine a farmer consulting a clay tablet to time planting, guided by the stars' movements. These calendars weren't just tools, they were lifelines, ensuring harvests in a land prone to floods and droughts. Temples doubled as observatories, their elevated platforms offering clear views of the sky, suggesting astronomy was woven into the fabric of Sumerian life. Their priests, trained in both religion and science, used star patterns to schedule rituals and predict floods, blending spirituality with pragmatism. This integration of knowledge and faith hints at a society that saw the cosmos as a guide, but it also deepens the question: how did they achieve such precision without modern instruments? Mainstream historians offer a compelling explanation: generations of meticulous observation. Picture Sumerian astronomers, night after night, recording the stars' positions, passing their findings down through centuries. Over time, they could have recognized patterns, refined their calculations, and built a body of knowledge that rivaled later civilizations. Their ziggurats, with flat terraces perfect for skywatching, supported this work, as did their schools, where scribes learned to compute and record. This theory is logical. It accounts for their achievements through human perseverance, but it doesn't fully explain the speed of their progress. Other cultures, like the Egyptians, took centuries to develop comparable systems, yet the Sumerians seem to leap forward, their astronomical records appearing with a sophistication that feels abrupt. This leads us to alternative possibilities. Could the Sumerians have inherited knowledge from an earlier, unknown culture? Archaeological discoveries like Göbekli Tepe, a 11,000-year-old site in modern-day Turkey, show that complex societies existed far earlier than once thought. Might such cultures have passed down astronomical insights, perhaps through trade or migration, that the Sumerians refined? Mesopotamia's role as a trade hub, connecting distant regions, supports this idea. Merchants and travelers could have brought star charts or mathematical techniques, which the Sumerians adapted into their own system. But even this doesn't fully account for their precision, especially in tracking planets like Jupiter, whose slow orbit requires decades of observation to map accurately. Then there's the Anunnaki connection. Sumerian texts explicitly credit these beings with teaching astronomy, describing them as guides who revealed the heavens' secrets. In one myth, Enki, the god of wisdom, instructs humans on observing the stars, a claim that aligns with the Sumerians' advanced records. Mainstream scholars view this as symbolic, a way to honor the gods for human achievements. But the specificity of these myths detailing skills that match archaeological evidence raises a provocative question. Could the Anunnaki represent real teachers, perhaps from a more advanced culture, whose knowledge was mythologized as divine? Or, as some speculate, could their heavenly origins hint at something beyond Earth, a possibility we'll explore later? The Sumerians' astronomical legacy isn't just a historical curiosity, it's a challenge to our understanding of the past. Their ability to map the cosmos, predict eclipses, and create calendars suggests a knowledge base that feels out of place in a world of mud-brick cities and stone tools. As we marvel at their starlit records, we must ask, was this the work of relentless human effort, or did they have guidance we can't yet explain? The answers may lie in their mathematics and engineering, fields where their genius shone just as brightly. From the calculations that built their ziggurats to the systems that tamed their rivers, The Sumerians' technical achievements hold more clues to this ancient puzzle. If you're as captivated by these cosmic mysteries as we are, join us on this journey through history's shadows by subscribing to Mystery History for Sleep and turning on notifications. Let's uncover the secrets of the Sumerians' world together, one star at a time, as we turn to their feats of mathematics and engineering to see if the Anunnaki's shadow looms over them. The Sumerians' gaze into the stars revealed a cosmos mapped with startling precision, their tablets etching patterns that still resonate in our modern world. But their brilliance didn't stop at the heavens. It reached deep into the earthly realms of mathematics and engineering, where they crafted systems and structures that seemed to defy the limits of their era. Living in the sun-scorched plains of Mesopotamia over 5,000 years ago, the Sumerians built a civilization that didn't just survive but thrived, transforming deserts into fertile fields and villages into sprawling cities. Their mathematical ingenuity and engineering feats irrigation networks, wheeled vehicles, and towering ziggurats suggest a mastery that feels almost too advanced for a people armed with clay and reeds. How did they achieve such sophistication so early in human history? Was it the product of relentless human innovation, or could their myths of the Anunnaki, those heavenly teachers, point to a source of knowledge that transcends the ordinary? Let's begin with their mathematics, a system so elegant it underpins our modern measurements of time and space. The Sumerians developed a base 60, or sexagesimal, system, a choice that seems arbitrary until you see its power. Unlike the base 10 system we're familiar with, base 60 allowed them to handle complex fractions and large numbers with ease, making it ideal for astronomy, trade, and construction. Picture a Sumerian scribe calculating the trajectory of a planet. This system gave us 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, and 360 degrees in a circle, legacies that shape how we navigate the world today. Their tablets reveal calculations for areas, volumes, and even quadratic equations, concepts that wouldn't resurface in Western mathematics until the Greeks, centuries later. This wasn't just counting, it was a mathematical revolution that feels out of place in a world of mud brick homes. Their grasp of geometry was equally remarkable. The Sumerians applied mathematical principles to design their cities and structures, achieving a precision that suggests a deep understanding of spatial relationships. Consider the ziggurat at a stepped pyramid rising over 70 feet, its terraces aligned with such accuracy that it has withstood millennia. Imagine engineers plotting its foundations, using ropes and stakes to measure angles and ensure stability, all without modern tools. Their tablets include diagrams for calculating the areas of triangles and trapezoids, skills essential for building canals and temples. One tablet, known as Plimpton 322, dating to around 1800 BC, even lists Pythagorean triples combinations of numbers that satisfy the Pythagorean theorem over 1,000 years before Pythagoras was born. How did a people so early in history master such advanced concepts? This mathematical prowess translated into engineering feats that reshaped their world. The Sumerians' irrigation systems were nothing short of miraculous, turning arid plains into fertile fields. Their canals, stretching across miles, featured sluice gates and reservoirs to control the Tigris and Euphrates' unpredictable floods. Picture a worker adjusting a clay gate, directing water to crops under a blazing sun, knowing the city's survival depended on this precision. These systems didn't just feed thousands, they supported urban centers like Uruk, where populations rivaled modern towns. The complexity of these networks requiring surveys, measurements, and maintenance suggests a level of planning that feels modern, as if the Sumerians were guided by a blueprint we can't fully trace. Their innovations extended to transportation and construction. The Sumerians are credited with inventing one of the earliest wheeled vehicles, a game-changer for trade and agriculture. Imagine a wooden cart, its wheels creaking under the weight of grain, rolling through Ur's gates to a bustling market. These vehicles, depicted on clay seals, were crude but effective, predating similar inventions elsewhere by centuries. Their cities were fortified with walls, some over 30 feet high, built to withstand invaders and floods. Excavations at Uruk revealed drainage systems that diverted rainwater, protecting homes and streets. These weren't haphazard efforts but coordinated projects, implying a society with specialized roles: engineers, laborers, planners working in unison. The scale and speed of these developments raise a question. Could a single culture, emerging from scattered tribes, achieve all this in such a short time? The Sumerians' engineering wasn't just practical, it was monumental. Their ziggurats, like the one at Nippur, were marvels of design, blending function with symbolism. These structures, built from millions of sun-baked bricks, required precise calculations to ensure stability, their terraces rising in perfect proportion. Picture a priest ascending a ziggurat steps, the city below shimmering in the heat, its alignment possibly reflecting celestial patterns. The Sumerians' ability to construct such enduring monuments suggests not just technical skill but a vision that saw their creations as eternal. Their tablets describe construction techniques, from brick-making to load distribution, showing a sophistication that rivals later empires. But where did this knowledge come from, appearing so suddenly in a region with no clear technological precursors? Sumerian myths offer a provocative clue. The Anunnaki, those beings from the heavens, are credited with teaching skills that mirror these achievements. In one text, Enki, the god of wisdom, instructs humans in canal building, a skill that transformed Mesopotamia's landscape. Another myth describes the Anunnaki guiding the layout of cities, aligning with the rapid rise of urban centers like Eridu. These stories aren't vague. They detail practical knowledge that matches archaeological evidence. Excavations confirm that Sumerian irrigation appeared abruptly around 4000 BC, as if introduced by a leap in understanding. Could these myths be symbolic, attributing human ingenuity to divine figures? Or do they preserve memories of real teachers, perhaps, from a more advanced culture whose influence was so profound it was cast as otherworldly? Mesopotamia's role as a cultural crossroads offers another perspective. As a hub linking Africa, Asia, and Europe, Sumerian cities like Ur were alive with traders and travelers. Imagine a merchant from the Indus Valley sharing knowledge of water management, or a nomad from the Levant describing construction techniques. This exchange, known as cultural diffusion, could explain some of the Sumerians' advancements. Yet, even this doesn't fully account for their leap forward. Other early cultures, like those in Egypt, built impressive systems, but their progress was gradual, spanning centuries. The Sumerians, by contrast, seem to surge from simplicity to complexity, their cities and technologies appearing with a speed that feels almost unnatural. Could they have inherited knowledge from a lost civilization, one we've yet to uncover? The suddenness of their achievements fuels speculation. Some point to the Anunnaki, whose myths describe them as teachers of mathematics and engineering. In the Epic of Enki, Enki is said to have revealed the arts of building, a claim that aligns with the Sumerians' architectural feats. Mainstream scholars argue these stories are metaphors, ways to honor gods for human progress. But the precision of these myths detailing skills that match real-world evidence suggests something more. Could the Anunnaki represent a group, human or otherwise, whose knowledge was so advanced it seemed divine? Archaeological gaps add to the mystery. Many Sumerian sites remain unexcavated, their secrets buried under millennia of sand. Recent discoveries, like the advanced tools found at Tel Brak, hint at earlier innovations we don't fully understand. Might these hold clues to the Sumerians' rapid rise? The Sumerians' mathematics and engineering weren't just achievements, they were a foundation for civilization itself. Their systems spread to later cultures, from Babylon to Greece, shaping how we measure, build, and think. But their origins remain elusive. Were they the product of human genius, honed over generations? Or did the Sumerians draw on a source we can't yet identify, perhaps encoded in their myths of the Anunnaki? As we ponder this, we must look beyond Mesopotamia to other ancient sites, like Göbekli Tepe, which challenge our understanding of early human capabilities. These enigmatic ruins, older than the Sumerians by thousands of years, suggest a deeper history that might hold the key to their knowledge. The Sumerians' mastery of mathematics and engineering from their intricate canals to their towering ziggurats, paints a picture of a civilization that seemed to leap from the dawn of history with astonishing sophistication. Their myths of the Anunnaki, crediting heavenly beings with such knowledge, deepen the enigma, suggesting a source beyond mere human effort. But what if the Sumerians weren't working alone? What if their brilliance was built on foundations laid by earlier, forgotten cultural societies, so ancient they've slipped through the cracks of history? Recent discoveries, like the mysterious site of Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey, challenge everything we thought we knew about humanity's past. Dating back 11,000 years, this complex of carved stone pillars predates the Sumerians by millennia, hinting at a network of early knowledge that might have flowed into Mesopotamia. Could these lost civilizations hold the key to the Sumerians' advancements, and do their echoes resonate in the tales of the Anunnaki? Picture a wind-swept hill in southeastern Turkey, where massive T-shaped limestone pillars stand in silent circles, their surfaces etched with intricate carvings of animals, humans, and cryptic symbols. This is Göbekli Tepe, uncovered in the 1990s, a site that rewrote the story of human civilization. Built around 9600 BC, long before the Sumerians etched their first cuneiform tablets, these structures were crafted by a people we once thought were simple hunter-gatherers. Yet, the precision of the pilasm weighing up to 20 tons and standing 18 feet tall suggests a society with advanced skills in stonework, organization, and perhaps even astronomy. Imagine a community gathering under starlight, hauling these colossal stones without metal tools or wheels, arranging them in patterns that may align with the heavens. This wasn't a fleeting effort. The site spans centuries, its layers revealing a sustained cultural project that defies our assumptions about early humans. What makes Göbekli Tepe so extraordinary is its age. It predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years and the Egyptian pyramids by 7,000. Yet its complexity rivals these later monuments. The pillars are adorned with detailed relief slions, snakes, and human-like figures, suggesting a rich symbolic language. Some archaeologists propose the site was a sanctuary, a place of ritual where early humans connected with the cosmos. Others see evidence of astronomical alignments, with pillars possibly marking solstices or constellations. Picture a shaman standing within a stone circle, tracking the stars' paths, much like the Sumerian astronomers who would follow millennia later. The site's sophistication implies a level of social coordination and knowledge we didn't think possible for hunter-gatherers, raising a question: could Göbekli Tepe be a clue to a lost chapter of human history? This discovery forces us to rethink the timeline of civilization. Historians once believed complex societies began with agriculture, around 4000 BC in places like Mesopotamia, but Göbekli Tepe, built before widespread farming, suggests that cultural sophistication, perhaps even religious or astronomical knowledge, drove the shift to settled life. Imagine communities gathering at this sacred site, sharing ideas that spread across regions, eventually reaching the fertile plains of Sumer. The Sumerians' sudden leap into urban life, with their cities and advanced systems, feels less isolated when we consider such precursors. Could their knowledge of irrigation, mathematics, or star tracking have roots in earlier cultures like the one that built Göbekli Tepe? The idea of cultural diffusion offers a compelling lens. Mesopotamia was a crossroads, its rivers linking distant lands. Traders and nomads could have carried knowledge from places like Göbekli Tepe, over 500 miles away, to the Sumerian heartland. Picture a caravan crossing deserts, bringing tales of stone circles and star patterns, perhaps even techniques for building or measuring. The Sumerians, with their knack for innovation, could have refined these ideas, turning them into the systems that defined their civilization. Yet, the gap between Göbekli Tepe's hunter-gatherers and Sumer's urbanitesum 5,000 years challenges this theory. No direct evidence links the two, but the Sumerians' myths of the Anunnaki, teaching skills from the heavens, hint at a deeper connection. Could these stories preserve memories of knowledge passed down from ancient, forgotten societies? Other ancient sites deepen this mystery. In Mesopotamia itself, the site of Tel Brak, dating to 6000 BC, reveals early urban features pottery, seals, and complex buildings that predate Sumer's cities. Imagine a proto-city, its mud brick homes bustling with artisans, laying the groundwork for Uruk's grandeur. Further afield, Çatalhöyük in Turkey, around 7000 BC, shows evidence of early agriculture and symbolic art, suggesting a gradual build-up of cultural complexity. These sites, scattered across the ancient world, form a patchwork of clues to a network of knowledge that may have flowed into Sumer. The Sumerians' advancements cuneiform, ziggurats, calendars feel less like sudden inventions, and more like the culmination of a long, hidden history. The Anunnaki myths add a provocative twist. In Sumerian texts, these beings are credited with teaching not just astronomy but practical skills like city building and irrigation. One story describes Enki, the god of wisdom, revealing the arts of civilization, a claim that aligns with the Sumerians' rapid urban development. Picture a Sumerian scribe recording Enki's teachings, attributing their canals and temples to divine guidance. Mainstream scholars see this as symbolic, a way to honor gods for human ingenuity. But the specificity of these myths detailing skills that match archaeological evidence suggests something more. Could the Anunnaki represent a mythologized memory of real teachers, perhaps from a culture like the one at Göbekli Tepe, whose knowledge seemed so advanced it was cast as divine? This idea isn't as far-fetched as it seems. History shows that encounters with advanced groups can be transformative. When Europeans arrived in the Americas, their technologies, guns, ships, writing, were seen as godlike by some indigenous peoples. Could a similar dynamic have played out in ancient Mesopotamia? Imagine a group from a distant, sophisticated culture, visiting early Sumerians, sharing knowledge of stonework or star tracking. To a people without such skills, these visitors might have seemed celestial, their teachings immortalized as the Anunnaki. Göbekli Tepe, with its monumental pillars, suggests such cultures existed, their legacy perhaps carried south to Sumer through trade or migration. Yet, gaps in the archaeological record keep the truth elusive. Many ancient sites remain unexcavated, buried under millennia of earth. Göbekli Tepe itself was deliberately buried around 8000 BC, its purpose unclear, as if its builders wanted to hide their work. Imagine a community covering their sacred stones, preserving them for a future we're only now uncovering. This act of burial adds to the site's enigma, suggesting a culture with secrets we've yet to decode. Could other such sites, lost beneath the sands, hold clues to the Sumerians' knowledge? The Anunnaki myths, with their tales of heavenly teachers, might be fragments of these lost stories, distorted over millennia but rooted in real exchanges. The possibility of forgotten civilizations challenges our view of history as a linear march from simple to complex. Göbekli Tepe shows that early humans were capable of feats we once thought impossible, suggesting a richer, more interconnected past. The Sumerians, with their sudden leap into civilization, may have been heirs to this legacy, their myths of the Anunnaki, a bridge to these ancient roots. But what if the truth is even stranger? Some speculate that the Anunnaki represent not just human teachers, but something beyond our world, a theory that pushes the boundaries of history. As we explore these ideas, we'll dive into the controversial claims of extraterrestrial influence, weighing the evidence against the myths to see if the Sumerian story holds otherworldly secrets. In the 1970s, a writer named Zecharia Sitchin brought the Anunnaki into modern spotlight with a radical idea. He proposed that these beings, etched in Sumerian clay, were not gods or metaphors but extraterrestrials from a distant planet called Nibiru. According to Sitchin's translations of ancient tablets, the Anunnaki arrived on Earth millennia ago, seeking resources and sharing advanced knowledge with early humans. They taught the Sumerians astronomy, mathematics, and engineering, sparking the sudden rise of their civilization. Picture a Sumerian scribe, awestruck, recording tales of beings who descended in shining craft, their wisdom transforming a fledgling society into a beacon of progress. Sitchin's books, starting with The 12th Planet, sold millions, captivating readers with a vision of ancient astronauts guiding humanity's first steps. Sitchin's theory hinges on his interpretation of Sumerian texts, particularly myths like the Epic of Atrahasis and Enki and Ninmah. He argued that these stories describe the Anunnaki as physical beings, not divine abstractions, who engineered humanity's development perhaps even genetically. In one text, Enki is said to shape humans from clay, a process Sitchin interpreted as a metaphor for genetic manipulation. Imagine a cosmic laboratory, with Enki tweaking the building blocks of life, creating a workforce to serve the Anunnaki's needs. Sitchin also pointed to artifacts like cylinder seal VE 243, which he claimed depicts the solar system, including Nibiru, a planet with a long elliptical orbit. This seal, he argued, proves the Sumerians knew of celestial bodies invisible without advanced technology, knowledge imparted by extraterrestrial teachers. But here's where the story stumbles. Mainstream scholars, experts in Sumerian language and culture, almost universally reject Sitchin's claims. They argue his translations are flawed, often twisting words to fit his narrative. The term Anunnaki, they say, means those of royal blood, or offspring of Anu, the sky god, not aliens. The clay, in creation myths, is a common motif in ancient religions, symbolizing the Earth's role in human origins, not DNA. As for Nibiru, scholars note it appears in texts as a star or celestial event, possibly Jupiter or a comet, not a hidden planet. The cylinder seal VE 243, while intriguing, is seen as a symbolic depiction of gods or constellations, not a scientific map. Picture a linguist poring over cuneiform tablets, shaking their head at Sitchin's leaps, insisting the texts are religious, not extraterrestrial, in nature. Yet, Sitchin's ideas resonate for a reason. The Sumerians' achievements, their sudden leap into writing, astronomy, and urban life feel almost too advanced for their time. Their tablets describe the Anunnaki with a specificity that's hard to dismiss as mere myth. In the Epic of Atrahasis, the Anunnaki debate humanity's fate, their arguments mirroring human politics, not divine abstraction. Enki's role as a protector, teaching irrigation and city building, aligns with archaeological evidence of the Sumerians' rapid advancements. Could these stories, even if exaggerated, preserve memories of real encounters? Not with aliens, perhaps, but with a culture so advanced it seemed otherworldly. Imagine early Sumerians meeting traders or nomads bearing knowledge of star patterns or engineering, their impact so profound it was cast as divine. This idea isn't unique to Sumer. Across the ancient world, cultures tell of beings from the heavens sharing wisdom. In Egypt, the god Thoth is credited with inventing writing and science, much like Enki. In Mesoamerica, the feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl brought knowledge of agriculture and astronomy. Picture ancient storytellers, gathered around fires, weaving tales of sky beings who transformed their world. These parallels suggest a shared human tendency to mythologize encounters with advanced groups. When Europeans arrived in the Americas with guns and ships, some indigenous peoples saw them as gods. Could a similar misunderstanding have shaped Sumerian myths, with the Anunnaki, as visitor human or otherwise, whose technology seemed celestial? Modern phenomena add fuel to this speculation. Reports of UFOs and unexplained aerial sightings have persisted for centuries, from medieval Europe to today's skies. While no credible evidence links these to ancient Mesopotamia, they tap into the same curiosity Sitchin exploited, the sense that our past hides something extraordinary. Imagine a Sumerian gazing at a strange light in the sky, weaving it into tales of the Anunnaki. Mainstream science dismisses extraterrestrial theories, citing the lack of physical evidencino ancient spacecraft, no alien artifacts. Yet, the absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence, and history is full of surprises. Just decades ago, Göbekli Tepe's discovery upended our view of early humans, proving they built complex structures 11,000 years ago. Could other finds, still buried, hold clues to the Anunnaki's true nature? The Sumerians' own records deepen the intrigue. Their tablets describe tools and symbols associated with the Anunnaki, that some interpret as advanced technology. Carvings show figures holding what look like rods or discs, objects some claim resemble devices, not just ritual items. Picture a relief of an Anunnaki figure, its disc glowing in torchlight, sparking whispers of otherworldly power. Scholars argue these are symbolic scepters of divine authority, but their presence in detailed myths fuels debate. The Sumerians' astronomical accuracy, like their precise tracking of Venus, suggests knowledge that seems improbable without aid. Could they have learned from a culture with superior tools? Or does the extraterrestrial theory, however unlikely, deserve a second look? Sitchin's critics point to Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is often correct. The Sumerians' achievements, they argue, stem from human ingenuity, refined over generations in a fertile cultural hub. Mesopotamia's trade routes brought ideas from distant lands, possibly including early astronomical or engineering knowledge. But the extraterrestrial theory persists because it speaks to a deeper human longing to know we're not alone, that our past holds secrets beyond the mundane. Imagine a Sumerian elder, passing down tales of sky beings, their stories growing grander with each retelling. Even if Sitchin's translations are flawed, the Sumerians' myths of the Anunnaki, with their vivid details and practical teachings, suggest a kernel of truth we haven't fully unraveled. The whispers of extraterrestrial visitors, sparked by tales of the Anunnaki and fueled by bold theories, stir our imagination, but they also remind us how much of the Sumerians' story remains shrouded in mystery. Their remarkable achievements, astronomy that mapped the stars, mathematics that shaped time, and cities that rose from desert sands, seem to demand an explanation beyond ordinary human progress. While myths of otherworldly teachers captivate us, a more grounded possibility emerges from the very land where the Sumerians thrived, Mesopotamia, a vibrant crossroads where cultures met, traded, and shared ideas. Positioned at the heart of ancient trade routes, this region was a melting pot of knowledge, a place where innovations from distant lands could have sparked the Sumerians' leap into civilization. Could this exchange of ideas, known as cultural diffusion, explain their sudden brilliance? And might the Anunnaki, those heavenly figures, reflect memories of real travelers whose wisdom seemed divine? Picture the bustling markets of around 3000 BC, where merchants from far-off lands gather under the shadow of a towering ziggurat. Caravans arrive from the Indus Valley, laden with spices and textiles, while boats from the Persian Gulf unload shells and precious stones. Nomads from the Levant bring tales of distant mountains, their packs heavy with copper and tools. Mesopotamia, cradled between the Tigris and Euphrates, was more than a fertile plain. It was a nexus connecting Africa, Asia, and Europe. This strategic position made Sumerian cities like Uruk and Eridu hubs of exchange, not just of goods but of ideas. Imagine a trader sharing a method for smelting metal, or a storyteller recounting a star pattern observed in a distant land. These encounters, small but cumulative, could have enriched the Sumerians' knowledge, fueling their rapid advancements. Cultural diffusion offers a compelling lens for understanding the Sumerians' achievements. Their cuneiform writing, one of the earliest scripts, may have roots in earlier systems of symbols used for trade. Picture a merchant from a neighboring region, using simple marks to track goods, inspiring Sumerian scribes to develop their wedge-shaped script. Their base 60 mathematics, so vital to astronomy and engineering, might have been refined from numerical traditions carried by travelers. Excavations at sites like Susa, in modern-day Iran, reveal early clay tokens used for accounting, predating Sumerian cuneiform. Could these have been shared through trade, adapted by the Sumerians into their sophisticated system? Their irrigation techniques, transforming deserts into farmlands, resemble methods found in the Indus Valley, suggesting knowledge exchanged along ancient routes. The Sumerian cities themselves reflect this blend of influences. Uruk's massive walls, stretching over 5 miles, echo defensive structures found at earlier sites like Tel Brak, 500 miles north. Imagine engineers from different regions exchanging ideas on brickmaking or fortification. their conversations shaping Sumer's urban landscape. Artifacts from Ur's royal cemetery, uncovered in the 1920s, include lapis lazuli from Afghanistan and carnelian from India, proof of trade networks spanning thousands of miles. These goods weren't just luxuries. They came with stories, techniques, and perhaps even star charts, enriching Sumerian culture. The sudden rise of their cities complex, organized, and populous suggests they built on a foundation of shared knowledge, pieced together from distant lands. This crossroads dynamic could explain the Sumerians' astronomical prowess. Their precise tracking of planets like Venus and Jupiter, recorded on tablets like the Venus tablet of Amisaduqa, required long-term observation, but trade could have brought earlier star maps or mathematical methods. Picture a traveler from Anatolia, where Göbekli Tepe's pillars hint at early astronomical knowledge, sharing insights with Sumerian priests. The Sumerians, with their knack for systemizing, could have refined these into their detailed records. Their calendars, aligning planting seasons with cosmic cycles, resemble those of other early cultures, like the Egyptians, who also tracked lunar phases. This suggests a flow of ideas across regions, each culture adapting and enhancing what it received. But cultural diffusion doesn't fully unravel the Anunnaki mystery. Sumerian myths describe these beings as teachers, delivering specific skills: irrigation, city building, astronomy that match their archaeological achievements. In one text, Enki, the god of wisdom, reveals the arts of civilization, from canal construction to governance. Imagine a Sumerian elder passing down tales of Enki's guidance, attributing their thriving fields to a heavenly figure. Mainstream scholars see this as symbolic, a way to honor gods for human progress. Yet, the myth's precision detailing practical knowledge suggests a deeper truth. Could the Anunnaki represent real travelers, perhaps from a more advanced culture, whose impact was so profound it was mythologized as divine? Consider the possibility of an unknown culture, lost to history, visiting Sumer. Imagine a group from a distant region, perhaps descendants of Göbekli Tepe's builders, arriving with knowledge of stonework or star tracking. To early Sumerians, their tools or methods might have seemed miraculous, like the Europeans' ships to indigenous Americans centuries later. Over time, these visitors could have been immortalized as the Anunnaki, their heavenly origins, a poetic nod to their foreignness. This aligns with Mesopotamia's role as a hub, where encounters with outsiders were common. Tablets from Ebla, a contemporary city in Syria, mention trade with Sumer, including exchanges of technical knowledge. Could such interactions, magnified by oral tradition, have shaped the Anunnaki myths? Yet, the Sumerians' leap feels too vast for trade alone. Their cuneiform appeared abruptly around 3200 BC, with no clear precursor. Their cities, like Uruk, emerged with complex layouts and bureaucracies, as if following a blueprint. Excavations at Tel Essawan, a pre-Sumerian site, reveal early irrigation and proto-urban structures, hinting at a gradual build-up. But the Sumerian scelicities of tens of thousands, ziggurats rising skyward, suggests a catalyst we haven't found. Could this catalyst lie in unexcavated sites, buried beneath Mesopotamia's sands? The region's unstable rivers have shifted over millennia, hiding ancient settlements. Imagine an undiscovered city, its tablets detailing encounters with teachers later called Anunnaki, waiting to rewrite history. The Anunnaki myths add a layer of intrigue. Their stories aren't vague, they describe specific acts, like Enki teaching irrigation, that align with Sumer's sudden agricultural boom. Picture a canal, its waters flowing smoothly, credited to a divine guide, but built with human hands. This specificity suggests the myths may encode real events, perhaps interactions with a culture whose knowledge seemed godlike. While extraterrestrial theories, like Sitchin's, stretch credibility, the idea of human visitor-straders, nomads, or survivors of an older society fits the evidence. Mesopotamia's Crossroads position made it a magnet for such exchanges, its cities a canvas where ideas were painted into reality. As we trace these threads, we see Mesopotamia not just as a place, but as a crucible of human potential. where ideas from distant lands fuse to create something extraordinary. The Sumerians' achievements, from writing to astronomy, may owe much to this exchange, but the Anunnaki myths hint at a spark we can't fully explain. To understand their true meaning, we must confront the challenges of interpreting their text tablets that hold both answers and riddles. The difficulties of translation and the gaps in our archaeological record keep the Anunnaki's secrets just out of reach, but they also invite us to dig deeper. If you're captivated by this ancient crossroads and want to explore more, subscribe to Mystery History for Sleep and turn on notifications. Let's unravel the Sumerian story together, deciphering the clues hidden in their ancient words. Mesopotamia's bustling crossroads, where traders and ideas converged, shaped the Sumerians' extraordinary civilization. Their achievements are testament to the power of shared knowledge. Yet, the Anunnaki myths, with their tales of heavenly teachers, suggest a deeper mystery that remains tantalizingly out of reach. The clay tablets that tell their story, etched with cuneiform over 5,000 years ago, are our best window into this ancient world, but they come with challenges that frustrate even the most dedicated scholars. Translating these texts is like assembling a puzzle with half the pieces missing, written in a language long silent. Add to that the gaps in the archaeological record tablets lost to time, cities buried under sand, and the Anunnaki's true nature becomes a shadow we can't quite grasp. Were they gods, human innovators, or something stranger? Let's explore the hurdles of deciphering their story and the tantalizing voids that keep the Sumerian enigma alive. Imagine a scholar hunched over a cracked clay tablet, its surface etched with wedge-shaped marks, each a clue to a civilization's thoughts. Sumerian cuneiform, one of the earliest writing systems, is a labyrinth of complexity. Unlike modern languages, Sumerian hasn't been spoken for millennia, its sounds and nuances lost to time. Each cuneiform sign can represent a word, a syllable, or an idea, and the same sign might mean different things depending on context. Picture a translator puzzling over a single phrase, debating whether it describes a god, a king, or a star. The term Anunnaki itself sparks debate. Does it mean those who came from the heavens, as some suggest, or simply those of royal blood, tied to the god Anu? A slight shift in interpretation can change a myth from a cosmic tale to a political allegory, making every translation a tightrope walk between precision and guesswork. This complexity is compounded by the state of the tablets. Many are fragmented, their edges crumbled, their stories incomplete. Imagine finding a book with pages torn out, the plot half told. Excavations at sites like and Nippur have yielded thousands of tablets, but countless others remain buried or destroyed, lost to floods, wars, or time's relentless march. Some tablets, like those detailing the Epic of Atrahasis, describe the Anunnaki's role in a great flood, but key sections are missing, leaving scholars to piece together narratives from scattered clues. Picture a story where Enki saves humanity, but the tablet breaks off mid-sentence, leaving us to wonder what he said next. These gaps force researchers to speculate, filling in blanks with educated guesses that can lead to wildly different conclusions. The Anunnaki myths are particularly tricky. Texts describe them teaching skills irrigation, astronomy, city building that match Sumerian achievements, but the language is often poetic, layered with metaphor. For example, when Enki is said to reveal the arts of civilization, does this mean divine inspiration or a historical exchange? Scholars lean towards symbolism, seeing the Anunnaki as personifications of natural forces or societal ideals. But others, like Zecharia Sitchin, read these texts literally, claiming they describe extraterrestrial visitors. Picture a debate among linguists, one insisting from the heavens means divine, another arguing it implies physical descent. Sitchin's translations, suggesting aliens from a planet called Nibiru, are dismissed by experts for misreading signs and ignoring context. Yet, his popularity shows how these ambiguities fuel fascination, leaving room for bold theories to flourish. Archaeological gaps deepen the challenge. Mesopotamia's shifting rivers have buried or eroded countless sites, hiding evidence that could clarify the Sumerian story. Imagine a city like Eridu, its earliest layers submerged under silt, its secrets locked away. Only a fraction of Sumerian sites have been excavated, and those we've explored like the royal tombs of reveal treasures, but not the full picture. Artifacts like cylinder seals, depicting Anunnaki with enigmatic symbols, hint at advanced knowledge, but their meaning is debated. One seal shows a figure with a winged disc, interpreted by some as a technological device, by others as a divine emblem. Without complete texts or more finds, we're left with fragments that tease more than they reveal. These gaps fuel speculation about the Anunnaki. Their myths, so specific in describing skills like canal building, suggest a historical core. Picture a Sumerian scribe recording Enki's teachings, inspired by a real teacher whose impact was mythologized. But who were these teachers? Mainstream scholars propose cultural diffusion ideas from sites like Göbekli Tepe or Tel Brak flowing into Sumer. Yet, the Sumerians' rapid leap from villages to cities feels too sudden for trade alone. Could they have encountered a lost culture, its knowledge so advanced it seemed divine? Imagine a group of travelers, bearing star charts or building techniques, their arrival immortalized as the Anunnaki. The lack of direct evidence tablets or tools linking Sumer to such a culture keeps this theory tantalizing but unproven. The cautious nature of academia adds another layer. Scholars rely on hard evidence, wary of speculation that veers into the fantastical. Picture a conference where archaeologists debate a tablet's meaning, dismissing ideas like Sitchin's as unscientific. This rigor ensures credibility, but can stifle bold questions. Göbekli Tepe's discovery, once thought impossible, shows how quickly assumptions can shift. Before its unearthing, no one believed hunter-gatherers could build such structures 11,000 years ago. Now, it's a cornerstone of prehistory. Could similar finds, still buried in Mesopotamia, reveal a culture that influenced the Sumerians, perhaps encoded in their Anunnaki myths? The reluctance to explore such possibilities, driven by fear of sensationalism, leaves gaps in our understanding. These challenge translation ambiguities and archaeological voids make the Anunnaki a puzzle we can't fully solve. Their stories, rich with detail, feel like more than myth, yet the evidence is incomplete. Imagine a tablet, its final lines lost, describing an Anunnaki teaching astronomy. Was it a god, a human, or something else? The Sumerians' precision in recording their world suggests they weren't inventing fantasies, but documenting something real, even if distorted by time. As we grapple with these uncertainties, we see the Anunnaki's influence extend beyond Sumer, shaping later cultures and modern imaginations. Their legacy, from ancient Babylon to today's stories, holds clues to their true nature. In Sumerian times, the Anunnaki were central to a worldview that saw the cosmos as alive with divine forces. Their myths, like the Epic of Atrahasis with its tale of a great flood, were more than stories. They were blueprints for understanding creation, survival, and the human condition. Picture a Sumerian priest reciting these tales in a torchlit temple, the words resonating with listeners who saw the Anunnaki as shapers of their world. These narratives didn't end with Sumer's decline around 1900 BC. As neighboring cultures rose, they adopted and adapted these stories, carrying the Anunnaki's influence into new eras. The Babylonians, who inherited Sumer's cultural mantle, retold the flood myth in the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest surviving literary works. Imagine a Babylonian scribe, centuries later, copying Sumerian tales, preserving the Anunnaki's role as cosmic architects. The Anunnaki's presence spread further through the Assyrians, who ruled Mesopotamia centuries later. Their art and texts depict gods like Enlil and Enki, inherited from Sumer, as powerful figures guiding human destiny. Picture an Assyrian relief, carved in stone, showing Enki with flowing waters, a nod to his Sumerian role as god of wisdom and rivers. These later cultures didn't just borrow stories, they expanded them, blending Sumerian myths with their own beliefs. The flood narrative, with its Anunnaki-driven drama, became a cultural touchstone, echoing in the Hebrew Bible's story of Noah, where a divine command saves humanity from a deluge. Similar tales appear in ancient Indian texts, like the Mahabharata and Mesoamerican legends, suggesting a shared human memory of catastrophe, perhaps rooted in real events magnified by myth. This cross-cultural resonance points to the Anunnaki's universal appeal. Their human-like traits, compassion, rivalry, regret made them relatable, not distant deities. In Sumerian texts, Enki weeps for humanity, defying Enlil's wrath to save mortals. Picture a storyteller captivating an audience with this drama, the Anunnaki's emotions mirroring their own. This humanity made the myths adaptable, allowing later cultures to reshape them for their own contexts. In Babylon, Enki became Ea, a god of wisdom revered in temples. In Akkadian texts, the Anunnaki were celestial judges, overseeing cosmic order. Their versatility ensured their stories endured, influencing religious and cultural traditions across the ancient Near East. The Anunnaki's legacy didn't stop in antiquity. In the 20th century, their myths found new life through Zecharia Sitchin's controversial books, which cast them as extraterrestrial visitors. Despite scholarly rejection, Sitchin's ideas struck a chord, inspiring novels, films, and documentaries. Picture a modern reader, engrossed in a book claiming aliens shaped Sumer, their imagination fired by the possibility. The Anunnaki appear in science fiction, from television shows like Stargate to video games, their ancient mystique repurposed for modern audiences. This revival reflects a deeper human longing to connect our past to something grander, whether divine or cosmic. The Anunnaki's enduring presence shows how ancient stories can transcend time, sparking curiosity in a world far removed from Sumer's sands. Their influence also highlights the Sumerians' role as cultural pioneers. Their myths, preserved in cuneiform, were among the first to grapple with existential questions: why we exist, how we survive, what lies beyond. Picture a Sumerian poet, stylus in hand, crafting tales that would echo through millennia. These stories shaped not just religion but literature, law, and science, as later cultures built on Sumerian foundations. The Babylonian Enuma Elish, a creation epic, draws on Sumerian myths of the Anunnaki, framing the universe as a divine struggle. Even today, our fascination with ancient mysteries, Atlantis, lost civilizations, cosmic origins owes a debt to the Sumerian storytelling, with the Anunnaki at its heart. But why do these myths endure? Part of their power lies in their ambiguity. The Anunnaki could be gods, human teachers, or, as some speculate, something stranger, their true nature obscured by time and translation. Picture a modern archaeologist, uncovering a tablet that hints at Anunnaki teachings, only to find it fragmented, its meaning elusive. This uncertainty fuels debate, keeping the Anunnaki alive in our collective imagination. Their stories resonate because they touch on universal questions. Where did our knowledge come from? Were we guided by forces beyond our understanding? The Sumerians' precision in astronomy and engineering, credited to the Anunnaki, makes these questions urgent, suggesting a past richer and more mysterious than we've grasped. This legacy challenges us to look at history anew. The Anunnaki's influence, from Sumer to Babylon to modern pop culture, shows how a single civilization's stories can shape human thought across millennia. Their myths, blending human emotion with cosmic scope, invite us to wonder if they encode real events encounters with advanced travelers, perhaps, or memories of a lost culture. As we trace their impact, we confront the ultimate question: what lies behind the Sumerians' sudden leap into civilization? The answers may hide in the gaps of history, in unexcavated sites or untranslated texts, waiting to reshape our understanding. The Anunnaki's legacy, stretching from Sumerian temples to modern imaginations, reveals a story that transcends time, weaving through ancient cultures and sparking questions that linger in our minds. Their myths, with their vivid tales of heavenly teachers, have left an indelible mark, but they also point to a deeper enigma: the Sumerians' astonishing leap into civilization. Their mastery of writing, astronomy, mathematics, and engineering emerged with a speed and sophistication that feels almost too remarkable for a people of mud brick cities and stone tools. As we've traced their achievements from starlit tablets to towering ziggurats, we've encountered a persistent question. How did they accomplish so much, so early? Were the Anunnaki merely symbolic gods, or do their stories hide a truth we've misunderstood? Could history itself, as we know it, be a misreading of a past far stranger and more complex than we've imagined? Let's step back and consider the Sumerians' world, a place where deserts bloomed into cities and the stars were mapped with uncanny precision. Over 5,000 years ago, they developed cuneiform, one of the first writing systems, transforming fleeting words into enduring records. Their base 60 mathematics gave us the 360-degree circle and the 60-second minute, tools we still use today. Their irrigation systems fed thousands, and their ziggurats stood as testaments to engineering prowess. Picture a Sumerian city at dawn, its canals glinting under the rising sun, its streets alive with scribes and merchants. This wasn't a gradual climb from primitive beginnings. It was a surge of progress, as if the Sumerians had unlocked a hidden key to civilization. But what was that key? Was it human ingenuity, honed over generations, or something more extraordinary? The Anunnaki myths offer a tantalizing clue. Texts like the Epic of Atrahasis describe these beings teaching skills irrigation, city building, astronomy that mirror the Sumerians' achievements. Imagine a scribe, stylus in hand, recording Enki's guidance on constructing canals, a skill that transformed Mesopotamia's arid plains. Archaeological evidence confirms these advancements appeared swiftly, around 4000 BC, with no clear precursors. Mainstream scholars argue this reflects patient observation and cultural exchange, with Mesopotamia's trade routes bringing ideas from distant lands. But the speed of this leap, cities like Uruk housing tens of thousands, star maps tracking Venus's cycles, feels too abrupt for trade alone. Could the Anunnaki represent real teachers, their knowledge so advanced it was cast as divine? This possibility forces us to question our view of history. We often see the past as a straight line, from simple hunter-gatherers to complex societies. Yet, discoveries like Göbekli Tepe, with its 11,000-year-old stone circles, shatter this narrative. Picture those massive pillars, carved by people we once thought incapable of such feats, standing under a starlit sky. If hunter-gatherers could build such structures, what else have we overlooked? Sites like Tel Brak, predating Sumer, show early urban features, hinting at a gradual build-up. But the Sumerians' sudden emergence writing, mathematics, urban planning suggests a catalyst we haven't found. Could it be a lost civilization, its traces buried under Mesopotamia's shifting sands, or encounters with a group whose knowledge seemed otherworldly? The Anunnaki myths deepen this mystery. Their stories aren't vague. They detail specific acts, like Enki teaching humans to measure the stars. Picture a Sumerian astronomer, guided by such tales, plotting Jupiter's path with precision. These myths align with real achievements, like the Venus tablet of Amisaduqa, which predicts planetary cycles with startling accuracy. Scholars see this as symbolic, a way to honor gods for human progress. But what if it's more? Imagine a group traders, nomads, or survivors of an older culture sharing knowledge so advanced it was mythologized as divine. The Sumerians, meticulous record keepers, documented everything from grain to laws. Why would their myths be pure fiction unless they reflected something real, however distorted by time? History is full of surprises that challenge our assumptions. Just decades ago, Göbekli Tepe was unthinkably a complex built by hunter-gatherers, predating Sumer by millennia. Picture archaeologists uncovering its pillars, their worldview shifting with each find. Similar discoveries, like Catalhoyuk's early art or Tellus, Sarwan's proto-urban structures, suggest a past richer than we realized. These sites hint at a network of knowledge, perhaps carried to Sumer through trade or migration. But the Anunnaki's heavenly origins, described in texts, push us to consider bolder possibilities. Could they represent encounters with a culture so advanced it seemed cosmic? Or, as some speculate, do they point to something beyond Earth? A theory that, while unproven, taps into our deepest curiosities. These questions linger because history is incomplete. Many Sumerian sites remain unexcavated, their tablets buried under centuries of silt. Imagine an undiscovered city, its cuneiform texts detailing encounters with teachers later called Anunnaki. Translation challenges add to the fog. Sumerian words shift meaning with context, and fragmented tablets leave stories half told. Picture a scholar, puzzled by a broken tablet, wondering if "from the heavens" means divine or something else. These gaps fuel debate, keeping the Anunnaki's true nature elusive. Were they gods, humans, or a memory of something we can't yet grasp? The Sumerians' precision in other record stacks is trade suggests their myths weren't mere fantasy but rooted in a truth we've misread. This uncertainty invites us to rethink history itself. If the Sumerians' leap was guided by a lost culture or extraordinary encounter, what else have we misunderstood? Other ancient mysteries, Atlantis, the pyramids' precision, Stonehenge's alignment, echo this question. Picture a world where forgotten societies, their knowledge scattered by time, shaped our past in ways we're only beginning to uncover. The Anunnaki, with their human-like emotions and specific teachings, might be a key to this hidden history, their stories a bridge to a past we've yet to fully understand. As we ponder this, we're drawn to the final question: what secrets remain buried, waiting to rewrite our story? The Sumerian story, with its tantalizing hints of lost civilizations and the enigmatic Anunnaki, leaves us standing at the edge of history's vast, uncharted expanse. Their achievement cities rising from deserts, star maps rivaling modern science, and myths that echo across millennia challenge us to question what we think we know about our past. The Anunnaki, those beings from the heavens, remain a puzzle, their tales of teaching humanity woven into the fabric of Sumer's brilliance. Were they gods, human innovators misremembered, or something stranger still? As we've journeyed through their world, from ziggurats to clay tablets, we've uncovered a truth. History is not a closed book, but an open mystery, its pages still being written with each new discovery. The Sumerians' legacy, and the questions it raises, invite us to keep exploring, to dig deeper into the sands of time for answers that might reshape our understanding of humanity's dawn. Picture the Sumerian plains under a starlit sky, where scribes once etched their dreams and fears into clay. Their cuneiform records, detailing everything from grain harvests to cosmic tales, reveal a civilization that saw itself as part of a larger universe. Their mathematics, with its base 60 system, gave us the seconds and degrees we use today. Their irrigation systems fed cities like Uruk, home to tens of thousands, while their ziggurats reached for the heavens, blending science and spirituality. These feats, appearing so early around 4000 BC, feel like a spark that ignited civilization itself. But the Anunnaki myths, crediting heavenly beings with these advancements, add a layer of intrigue. Imagine a Sumerian elder, telling of Enki's wisdom, their words preserving a memory of something extraordinary, perhaps a real encounter that shaped their world. The questions we've explored: how the Sumerians mapped stars without telescopes, built cities without precedents, or crafted myths so vivid, point to a past more complex than we've assumed. Göbekli Tepe's 11,000-year-old pillars, carved by hunter-gatherers, remind us that human ingenuity stretches further back than we thought. Sites like Tel Brak, with their early urban traces, suggest a gradual build-up, yet Sumer's leap feels sudden, almost guided. The Anunnaki, described as teachers of astronomy and engineering, might encode memories of such guidance, perhaps from a lost culture, its traces buried under Mesopotamia's shifting rivers. Picture an unexcavated site, its tablets waiting to reveal encounters with travelers whose knowledge seemed divine. These mysteries persist because our view of history is incomplete. Fragmented tablets, their stories broken mid-sentence, and unexcavated cities keep the Anunnaki's truth elusive. Imagine a scholar piecing together a cracked tablet, wondering if from the heavens means gods or something else. The Sumerians' precision in recording mundane detail staxes trade suggests their myths weren't mere fantasy but rooted in experience. Could they reflect real teachers, human or otherwise, whose impact was so profound it was cast as celestial? The possibility, however faint, challenges us to rethink history not as a straight path, but as a tapestry of forgotten threads, woven by cultures we've yet to rediscover. This uncertainty is what makes the Sumerian story so compelling. Their myths, echoing in Babylonian epics and modern tales, carry a universal longing to understand our origins. The flood narrative, shared across cultures, hints at a shared memory, perhaps of a real catastrophe that reshaped early societies. Picture survivors, guided by leaders later called Anunnaki, rebuilding under a new sky. Other ancient enigmas, Stonehenge's alignments, the pyramids' precision, whispers of Atlantis echo this longing, suggesting a past filled with secrets. The Sumerians, with their starlit records and towering cities, stand at the heart of this mystery, their Anunnaki myths a bridge to a truth we're only beginning to grasp. As we reflect on their legacy, we see history as a living puzzle, its pieces scattered across time. Each discovery, like Göbekli Tepe, shifts our perspective, reminding us that the past is not fixed but ever evolving. Imagine a future finder buried city, a new tablet that reveals the Anunnaki as human innovators, a lost tribe, or something stranger. The Sumerian story teaches us to question, to wonder, to seek. Their myths, blending human emotion with cosmic scope, invite us to imagine a world where the impossible might be real. Were the Anunnaki divine, earthly, or beyond? The answer lies not just in the past, but in our willingness to keep searching, to let the mysteries of history guide us forward. This journey through Sumer's sands is just the beginning. The Anunnaki's shadow stretches across time, from ancient Mesopotamia to our modern world, challenging us to look deeper. Other mysteries await Atlantis' lost shores, the pyramids' silent stones, the untold stories of forgotten peoples. Picture yourself standing at the edge of these enigmas, the past whispering secrets that could change everything. The Sumerians showed us that humanity's story is vast, its truths hidden in clay and stone, waiting for those bold enough to seek them. So, let's keep exploring, turning each page of history to uncover what lies beneath. If these ancient riddles have sparked your curiosity, join our quest by subscribing to Mystery History for Sleep and turning on notifications. Share this journey with friends on your favorite platforms, be it X, YouTube, or beyond, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the Anunnaki. What do you believe they were? Gods, humans, or something more? Let's unravel the shadows of the past together, one mystery at a time.